Okay.
You want me to back it up?
If you want to, you're good where you're at though. Wherever you guys are comfortable.
Yeah, I'm gonna go semi-circle. Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of people quote this part. The imagine your fish.
Mm. All right. We are live. Welcome, Alice. I'm still setting things up, but tonight I have Casey and Evan joining us, and we're reading Darkmatter, or have read Darkmatter, and now we're talking about it. Yeah, bear with me while I'm setting stuff up, but I enjoyed this book a lot. I thought it was really interesting. It really had me on the edge of my seat a lot of the time. Like, it was kind of long, but it didn't feel too long. Like, I was kind of just breezing through it. I read it in big chunks, I noticed. Like, I read like 75 pages at a time, and then I'd wait a little bit, like a few days, and then I'd read some more. Yeah, it has an interesting mix of different, like, it's a thriller, it's a romance, it's a sci-fi, it's funny also. Like, some of the character dialogue is just like, there's good characters in it. Yeah. Never quite read anything like that. What for the Alices at home that haven't read it, what can you guys explain what it's about?
Oh, yeah. So essentially, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I guess that's what
That's what we're here for. Yeah.
So a guy named Jason who leads a pretty normal life, I would say, just a physics professor, right? And has a wife and a son and is pretty content with his life, but starts to be reminded of what it could have been when one of his friends wins what was the prize that they referenced in?
Is it a Pulitzer?
Yes, maybe. Or I don't know if they renamed it for the book, but
I think it was a Pulitzer Prize.
yeah. And I don't know, do you want to take over?
He goes out for a drink with his buddy who won the Pulitzer Prize. And then suddenly, on his walk back,
This is way more entertaining.
Bum, bum, bum.
Picture this. All right, so he's walking back from the bar, right, getting back to his family, and this masked like criminal like kidnaps him, grabs him, pulls him into a car, brings him out to this like abandoned factory or something, injects him with this stuff, and Jason Desson passes out. And then he wakes up and he's surrounded by scientists and peers and people in the science community. And they're all just losing their mind, clapping for him and loving him and stuff. And slowly over time, it is revealed that he has woken up in an alternate universe, a universe where he never met his wife and basically focused on his career, essentially became this genius with many accolades and many achievements and stuff. And I guess a lot of the book is about him trying to get back, trying to go find his wife and get back to the reality that is his. But meanwhile, the guy with the mask on, it's another Jason. And he takes over his life, sneaks into his freaking house, tries to become part of him, you know? And yeah, the plot thickens from there. You want to tag in now? Tell us more.
Yeah, so then in the other universe, he's trying to get back. And then like we kind of have this duality with what's her name? Daniela?
Yes.
Where she is like, she doesn't know that her husband's been replaced, but like at least for a little while their marriage seems better. Like they're
more passionate.
like, yeah. Yeah, it's like kind of like rejuvenated. Like I think she says it's like more like when they first started dating.
Yes.
And like so we get to see like this interesting like parallel because in the other universe he meets up with that Daniela and she is like a very successful artist and he's like he won the Pulitzer Prize in that universe and they both had like very successful careers but neither of them is like as happy as they are in the other universe where they like had a kid and they're just kind of living normie lives.
Yep.
And like I think he did a really good job of like making it Blake Crouch did a good job of making it like we always wonder what it would have been like if we made other decisions.
Yeah. What if?
Yeah. And like he how do I say that? It's like it makes it more heart-wrenching, like what he's going through when you see how happy she is, you know? And then like he comes back near the end and he sees how happy they are together. And like the kid is like he's doing stuff with the son too. Whereas
they
like
went to the baseball game for
Yeah.
the first time in a really long time.
Yeah, so he kind of feels like he's been replaced by a better version of himself in some ways. And like you know, eventually they come back together and realize that they love those versions of each other. But like
I liked seeing her point of view in those few chapters where she does feel that, you know, rejuvenated connection, but she can tell something's off. And I thought that was really neat that, you know, just slight changes, you could be so attuned to that in your partner.
Yeah, this is the first book I read by him, but he did a great job of like those parts specifically. Like because she like you said, she can tell something's off, but she doesn't I mean, you wouldn't assume that he's been replaced by another version of him from another reality. Like anything else would make more sense. Like she thinks he maybe is having an affair or like
a brain tumor or something.
Yeah. She says a brain tumor. Yeah, so she's like not jumping to conclusions, but she's got like all these options in her mind and none of them are what it is because like who would think that? That's so weird. Yeah, and then it like so he does a good job of these like thriller aspects, like when he gets kidnapped by the other version of himself. Like it's really intense. Like it's I don't know, like he does a good job of putting you there, like in that situation. And like the romantic aspects are really good. He does a good job of that. And then to top it all off, like the sci-fi elements are well done, which is like going into it, like knowing the plot, I'm like kind of like being critical about it. And I'm like, actually, he did a pretty good job with this.
I think you could definitely pick it apart and say, well, if you were really a quantum physicist, oh, this is not how this works or anything. But you have to remember this is a fictionist world, and he does a really good job of keeping it as sci-fi and technical as he can with still and being entertaining. And I think that's why, as we discussed earlier, right before you set up, he's been compared to Michael Crichton. And
yeah, I mean, he's essentially he's basically translating high concept science to the average reader, you know, like bringing up
what his background is though.
So they're actually in the back here, he hit up physicists.
Okay, so did his research.
And also astronomer he hit up. Like some PhDs that like really helped him write this. Like he got their insight, told him what he was doing, and got like an expert's take on it.
Smart.
Yeah, so I think that like definitely like that's why it reads so like the character is a physicist, and I think he did a good job of getting into that like that framework, which is like more of an author thing than it is like even taking like those elements from the scientists. Like it takes an author to be able to like turn it into a story, into a narrative.
It's cool too, because I mean, it's definitely in contrast with Michael Crichton himself too. Like he's a doctor,
True blue,
non-practicing,
yes.
yeah, you know, so he really just wrenches that
Oh,
medical
really?
stuff in there. Yeah, but I don't know, this guy, he translates. Michael Crichton, he simplifies, you know.
It seems like there's some interview stuff in the back of this, and it seems like Blake Crouch did some other. Like I said, this is the first book of his. Have you guys read any other Blake Crouch stuff?
I've been recommended Recursion, but I don't even know what that's about. But everyone seems to, as soon as they read Darkmatter, want to read.
I gotcha. So from what I can tell, he mostly does sci-fi, which I think is interesting. Like, so it kind of is his realm, you know?
Yeah.
Like, at least it seems that way. So like it's not exactly like foreign to him. Like he's done this kind of stuff in the past. There was something else I just saw a second ago. But anyway, yeah, he definitely like, oh yeah, he read other books too. Like not only did he reach out to people about it, but he
okay.
like studied it himself also. Just like did some brushing up on some quantum physics, which like I've watched like podcasts with like quantum mechanics and physicists trying to explain it, and they're basically like, first thing you need to know about it is it doesn't make sense. Like this, nothing works the way you think it should. Like intuitively, the way you think things work, that's not it. And it's like the more you get into it, like the more questions you have, which is like I think is pretty fascinating. Like one principle that like is in alchemy is as above, so below. But then like when you get down to like the quantum scale, like that doesn't seem like it's the case. Like things are just weird. Like things like quantum entanglement, things can share similarities over distance and time. Like if you light this thing on fire over here, like it's on fire over there too.
Okay.
Like it's weird. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about this, but just things I've heard about it.
Well, yeah, one of the big things, he does a really good job of helping you understand if you know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But one of the, I guess, comparisons or examples he gave was that the cat in the box with the poison and
Schrodinger's
cat can be, yes.
It's in a super state.
Yes, until someone witnesses or some. That's a little bit.
Yeah. It's like I kind of feel like these concepts are like beyond human comprehension. Like we'll never quite be able to wrap our head around like what's happening exactly, because it doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't, life does not make sense. Reality does not make sense. And it's not even that we don't understand it. It's like even the people that understand it are like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Like but yeah, like he talks about Schrodinger's cat, like that's the way the box works. I guess we should talk about the box. So
yes.
The way they get across worlds is there is this box, and I forget how the drug ampoule thing comes into play. You guys remember?
So it was made by his friend who won that prize.
That's
right. So I again don't know the contents of it, but kind of puts you in some state of consciousness, I think.
Like they have to go into the box because they're unobserved. Like no one sees what's going on in there. But then there was something else about a drug they have to take. I can't remember. I'll find it, but I definitely wrote that part down.
Yeah, that one's another one that's a little iffy with me, remembering exactly. I know once they do wake up from the drug, there's that hallway like corridor with from now to infinity with just multiple different doors. And you find out later in the book that you can kind of alter what you're going to see when you come out of the door. At first, they don't know that and start going to these crazy dimensions or worlds, but you have to be in the right mindset, I guess.
Yeah, if I recall, there was an aspect of like what you were talking about, like as above, so below, like the thoughts and feelings you go into it. That's kind of what you get out of it, you know, because that's
one
why
of the rules or something.
It's how they're able to control where they go is like basically like mind over matter. Like they steer it with intention, which I thought that was really cool too.
Science and magic together, huh?
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because like it really is just two sides of the same coin. It's like understanding and lack of understanding. It's like fire is magic if you don't know how that works.
Sure.
And it's science once you understand like the chemical process of it. So I guess quantum mechanics is magic since we don't understand it. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, yeah. Well, I liked how he at first was really struggling to find anything even resembling his world, and then trying to think of, oh, this creak in the floorboard of my house, but then had to go even deeper and started thinking about the first time he met his wife and that more mental connection. But
I liked when he would like find a reality that was almost there but not quite.
yes,
That was cool.
The one because they live in a small suburb of Chicago, and all his favorite bars aren't there, favorite places to go, and just little things.
Yeah, it's like no one drinks Malort anymore.
Yeah.
It's
So choice.
I'm in the part here where he meets up with the Daniela and Ryan in the other universe. I'm trying to find where Ryan's talking about the compound that he made.
Yeah, I think he either brings it up at her exhibit briefly, because he kind of is hinting at, because oh, by the way, his friend that won the prize is dating his wife in the alternate world. But kind of alludes that they took this drug injectable and didn't credit him, and he's no longer involved, so he has that resentment.
I think you're right. I went a little too far. It's back at the exhibit where he's talking about it. So that compound I built for you, it worked out, I assume. I just stare at him, no idea what he's talking about. And when I don't provide an immediate answer, he says, right, I get it. They've got you buried under a mountain of NDAs. I
don't know if it's very.
Oh, maybe. It might be when he sees him again at the lab and they've like beat the shit out of him.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they go a little crazy.
So back at Danielle's apartment, he says, Ryan, what compound did you make for me? He just glares at me for a moment, and he's going to answer, the tension draining out of his face, if he's trying to decide whether I'm crazy or just being a stoned asshole. All at once, he arrives at his conclusion. Hardness returns, and he says with zero warmth in his voice, good night, Daniela. So he doesn't talk about it yet. It's later on. I'll find it. But yeah, we'll come back to the box in a minute while I'm looking for that. But later on, I would say most of the book is him trying to get back. Like they establish, like he's already like here and like trying, at this point in the book, he's like trying to figure out, he's in the other world and he's trying to figure out how to get back. So that's like 1/3, and like the next 2/3 are like him trying to get back to his family. So he eventually gets back in this Schrodinger's box, and inside is like a corridor. And then once he gets back into this universe, that's when things actually get really crazy. That was like a twist I wasn't expecting, is it duplicates him. Like there's more than like all the different, like it makes sense, right? Like he's in this super state where everything happens and it's infinite possibilities. So there's infinite versions of him that can potentially come back over to this side. So it like kind of clones him in a weird way. So like when he gets back finally and he like to his world, there's like, I think it ends up being like something like 70 that we know of, like versions of him that are more identical than if he were just like hop into another universe, because these are versions of him
that have just branched off.
Yeah. Like that's a better way of putting it. I was gonna say clone, but it branched off from the time he got out of or entered the box, I guess. Oh my God, one of my favorite parts is when he's in the corridor, which is like the box but extended, like infinitely out. So like when he's in there, which I guess it's not really even a corridor, like he talks about how it's just his mind trying to
comprehension of what that would look like.
Yeah, like the brain's not equipped to deal with what it's dealing with, so it tries to put it in a box. Like I kind of feel like DMT trips I've had are kind of like that, where people describe like visions, but it's not really like you're not seeing anything really. Like your brain is trying to put it in like sight and sound because it doesn't know what to do. Like your eyes are closed, so you're definitely not actually seeing anything. Kind of like a dream. Like what you're experiencing in a dream you can see, but your mind is creating that, because like it doesn't really, it's trying to put it in a box of something it understands. Like we don't have the equipment to see things we can't see. So yeah, anyway.
Same thing with the UFO phenomenon, man. I mean, I'll get back to that any way I can, dude. Like, we conceptualize these things based on things we've seen. In the 1800s, it was just giant hot air balloons,
Oh, yeah.
Machines.
In biblical, it's like a flying chariot.
Yeah,
they describe it as like a chariot in the sky that's on fire, because if you saw something flying in the sky, what else would you think that is? If like you don't have a concept of a vehicle outside of a chariot. So
yeah, your brain fills in the gaps.
Like you literally, like actually, yeah, like you don't have a word for it. So it's like, we don't have a word for a car or even a vehicle. This is a chariot.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, what else would you call that? Or like you said, like it's a balloon or just because like airplanes haven't been invented yet. Yeah, a flying ship. That's a good one.
Or were you gonna bring up the version of him that's all beaten up? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I forgot. Thank you.
No, you're fine.
He's
because it's in the corridor.
Yeah, he's in this like infinite space, and him and Amanda, the character that goes into the box with him, they see a version of him that's completely naked and covered in blood, and he's like has abject horror. Like he's like completely belligerent, and he doesn't even like stop to talk to them. He just like runs right. I think that's the first version of him he sees.
I feel like that's the only one in the box, which is really, really interesting. I'm almost curious as if that was someone or a version of him being experimented and they sent him in. I don't know. Because you never know where he came from or where he went.
You know what? If it's driven by intention and everything is possible, like I think he even says like he could have literally come from hell. Like, like that, if everything is possible and if it's infinite and it's driven by intention, like maybe that guy was in a bad headspace, that version of him was in a bad headspace and opened like the worst possible door he could have opened. That's crazy.
Me, man.
Well, that's like don't think of it. Then what are you gonna do? Or don't think of a horse.
Purple elephant.
Yeah.
And then you open the door and there's a purple elephant.
I mean, bringing it back, it's like when you're tripping, and you start getting into that bad headspace, and you're like, push it down, man. Like, don't feed into this. Yeah.
Yeah. While I'm looking for this, would you guys go in the box? Like if it just appeared.
Do I have knowledge of what the box is and how it works, or am I going into this?
Yeah, like it works the way it's described in this book. And you have like,
do I get any prep time?
Yeah, let's say you have like 100 of the vials too. So like
shit, yeah.
It's not like a one thing. So there's like a chance you like, albeit it's like a slim chance, but there's a chance you could like come back here too. Like it's not outside of possibility.
Let me ask you this: can I get like a day to prepare myself mentally for it?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I got to be in the right headspace.
Yeah, like
if I get a day, I'll do it. Absolutely.
You have as much time to like even consider if you'd want to do it or not.
Hell yeah, absolutely, I would.
Mm-mm.
No, okay.
To quote a song, the less I know, the better. Like I'd rather just.
So Tame Impala.
Yep.
Nice.
I think the possibility. I know there could be something better out there, but the possibility that I would not make it back here, that would, freak me out.
It'd definitely like be a risk. What if there wasn't any, like, what if you knew you could come back?
Then I think I would consider it a lot more. But just seeing what he went through trying to get back is definitely
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess like, yeah, if there wasn't any like consequence to it, like if you knew you could just come right back like easily, there would be no reason not to, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to explore like other universes, just to see like,
because the futuristic one sounded intriguing.
I agree. Like they get on like a super train and everything's like very sterile, and then like, yeah, that was cool.
But you
like
also
that.
get the plague dimension too.
That's
Oh my God.
That's my least favorite
Oh
one.
my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's funny too, because this is like what, 2014, I think.
Oh,
I think it's 2016 maybe,
Okay.
but it's definitely before.
Yeah.
And I think I read it during the first time, so during the pandemic.
the time that shall not be named.
Yeah. To circle back really quick, because you mentioned, I think, is her name Amanda?
Yeah.
That is the Jason who created the box. That's his therapist. And she witnesses some things, the scientists who, I don't know, are trying to figure out how this box works, kill off some people, including Daniela at the time and Ryan, his friend at the time. And so his therapist, Amanda, was like, I'm getting out of here, and goes with him. But one thing I actually thought was kind of curious, she ends up separating from him because she realizes he's not going to find his dimension or reality with her influence. And where do you guys think she ended up going? Because she said she was never going to go back home. Do you think she went to the futuristic place again, or wanted to try something? I do remember that
she liked that place too. So maybe that's a good question. I don't know. And that raises another question: is where did they go at the end? Like at the very, very end. At the very end of the book, in order to like basically they fucked up their reality. Like they can't continue to exist
with 70 other Jasons
that are all competing over this life.
Bro, they're stone cold murderers. A lot of them too, dude.
I didn't think about that.
Jason.
Even if you could get back here, there's a possibility
that I would bring others, other Casey's
and I don't know if I could even live with like just one more of myself.
I don't know. I'd start an all-girl band. Just all me.
Casey and the Caseys.
No, but they can't stay in their reality, their version of things. And so they take the remaining vials from Jason too, I guess. And they enter the box.
So I found what I was looking for.
Oh yeah.
This is Ryan talking. No, this is Jason talking. The night after I escaped from this place, I went to a hospital. They ran a tox screen that returned traces of mysterious psychoactive compound. When I saw you at Daniela's art reception, you asked me if the compound had worked. What exactly were you working on for me? Ryan says, you asked me to build a drug that would temporarily alter the functioning of brain chemistry in 3 Brodmann areas of the prefrontal cortex. Alter how? Put them to sleep for a little while. Okay, that's right. So the idea is you're not even observing yourself. Like you're
Ooh,
not,
okay.
so no one is observing what's happening, even the people inside the box. So, and that comes back to what you were talking about with Amanda, where it's like they figure out that they can pilot which reality they go to through intention. But if you have multiple people, you're kind of like basically subconsciously competing over where you're going to end up. And it like, they're able, them together are not able to like steer it perfectly. It's like two people trying to drive a car at the same time. Like, yeah.
I think that when they get to the one that's very similar, where he goes and stands over the bed and is contemplating possibly taking over that Jason's life.
Yeah.
I think that the reason they just can't get it completely right is because she's from a reality that's, I mean, pretty similar, at least in the sense of Chicago and the world, but she doesn't know his. And she, I don't know, but I think it was respectful that she left him to do his thing.
Yeah.
I hope she's happy out there.
So yeah, they create a box, which I mean, I guess could honestly like be just a box. Like it really just, it's more the drug, I
Mhm.
guess. Like then, because if you're just, all you have to be is unobserved. So it'd have to be soundproof and it would have to be like you can't see into it.
Gotcha.
And then the drug, it says they shut off the mechanism in the brain that was responsible for the observer effect. So so yeah, you're just making it like the box alone wasn't enough. You have to turn off your own observation, so no one is saying what's happening, which comes back to the Schrodinger thing. If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Mhm,
And
if no one's around, yeah.
I think, yeah. So really the question would be is, does a tree exist if no one's looking at it?
Which is
And according to quantum mechanics, I think the answer is no, which
Wow.
is like kind of insane. Like it really raises a lot of questions about the reality we live in. Like what the fuck?
Makes it seem very unstable in my opinion.
Yeah. If things exist without observation, I don't know, that almost becomes like a religious thing. Like, is there an observer like overhead?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know. What are you gonna say?
I think the like a real world example I can think of is light is a wave until it's observed, then it's a particle, or something like that. Maybe the other way around, you know? So maybe that tree just is something else until it is observed and its form becomes a tree.
I see. Oh, but trees are also alive.
Yeah.
So
So
maybe they have a form of observation in themselves. Maybe tree's not a good example. Like,
rock.
does a rock
The rock.
exist? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I have none of these answers, just
No,
questions.
just, yeah.
um yeah, it's a like such a roller coaster. Like we get alternate dimensions, and then we get like of the multiverse idea, and then we get like to see all of that culminate into one space. And it's like, I don't know, it got me thinking about like how would I deal with other versions of me. And like I guess, I don't know, like I think I would have to, kind of the conclusion I reached is I would have to not see it as me. Like, because if we're exactly the same, like we'd want the same things. Like, and some things like you can't, like like both people can't have. Like, well, Danielle is a great example. Like two Jasons can't be father to their son and husband to Daniela.
Mhm.
Like that just is not going to work. Like they're both going to be like, they can't share this life. So it's like, I feel like everyone's life is like the more of a life you've created, the more difficult it would be to like to coexist with yourself, you
Yeah.
know? So I think I would have to, like if I were to exist with myself, we'd have to come up with like we'd have to like, it'd be easier if there was just two and not 70. But like we'd have to basically go different ways. Like we'd have to do different things. We could still interact, but we'd have to see each other as different people.
Is that even possible?
I think maybe like
Because the thing in the book that kind of got me was when he does realize there's multiple versions of himself in this reality. And his first thought is, oh, I'll go to some random chat room, and he types in the name, and there's already versions of himself in there because they think the same exact way. Or, oh my gosh, they know him in this hotel room, and he goes and he's about to be killed by the one. So
I think it's possible.
if you have that communication,
Well, I think it's possible, and it becomes more difficult the more of a life you've created for yourself and the older you are. So like,
yeah, because you haven't.
yeah, you know who you are. Like
Mhm.
you're like a well-founded individual, whereas like a child is more like children have personalities. They're not completely a blank slate, but they're still figuring things out. Like formative events have not occurred yet. So it's like if you took two babies and had this happen, it would kind of just be like two different babies, right?
Mhm.
Like except for like they'd be like twins. Like twins share a lot of the same like biological aspects, but then like you would literally okay, so like two Jasons come out of the box at the same time. One is on the left and one is on the right. Well, they're seeing that camera from slightly different angles, and now they're thinking about that camera in slightly different ways, which will create like a butterfly effect and branch out over time.
Mhm.
So like one of them goes left, one of them goes right, and one of them sees a bird, one of them sees a dog. They're now different people. They're just very similar people. So like the further out they go and have
The
more,
longer, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that there are fundamental aspects of our character that would translate between realities, or is that just a product of age?
no, I don't think so. I think really, well, since you asked, I think that the only things that make us different are experience and biology. So like I think the thing that drives us, like the soul, like even between us is like we all have the same thing, but then like we live different lives. So it's like that's what makes us different. Um, but I think like the soul itself, I don't really think there's anything unique about it. I think what you go through is what makes you unique. So I don't think there is anything intrinsic. I mean, except for like biology, right? Um, like what your parents bring to the equation is like so like you would still have like if you have asthma, you're still going to have asthma. Like physical things, right?
Like even mental things too.
Yeah,
Your
true.
brain chemistry.
Yeah, because that ends up being a physical thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like those things I think are intrinsic to who you are. But then like I think we're highly like in psychology, it's environmental versus behavioral. And it's like I think both of those things are components to who you are. But I think we're highly environmental. I think what happens to you shapes who you end up being.
I can see that.
What
What do you think, Casey?
I agree in the sense that what happens to us shapes us. I think there's a lot of good examples of that in history, just what people have gone through have changed who they turn out to be. Not to get really weird, but you see these or you learn about certain serial killers, so to speak, and what they've gone through. I know there's a big discussion on that we could probably go off on some tangent, but a lot of the time, not every time, you go back to their childhood and see what they've gone through, and it's not saying, okay, well, what I see why you did what you did, and but
I agree. It's
if you're locked in a cage for your entire childhood,
Right. Yeah.
what do you expect to happen? So
Sure.
I do think you are a product of your environment a lot of the time.
I completely agree with you. And it's not like a comfortable thing for me to accept, because it's like you think
You
of like
want, yeah,
the most evil people in the world you don't want to have sympathy for, but they are a victim too. They're a victim of circumstance. If they were shown compassion, or if like they were in a different circumstance, they wouldn't have ended up becoming what they became. Unless we're talking about like something biological, like mental
exactly.
illness, which still, with the right kind of, if they had like had help, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
Hmm.
And it's like, it isn't a comfortable thing to think about, because it's like, we want to, well, I think part of what makes it uncomfortable is it means if you went through the same thing, you would do that. And that's what's really scary, is
Well,
like,
so I guess I'm kind of in the middle there, because I can recognize why possibly someone did what they did, but I still can't agree with it. And I think that there's that branch again where someone could kind of experience the same thing and might not. I think there's different ways to experience things. So I guess maybe I am kind of in the middle. Because you see people who grew up possibly homeless or in poverty and completely changed their life around, and or vice versa, someone who kind of stayed at that
yeah.
level. But
And they're also like, touching on what you said, like, a lot of crimes are circumstantial. It's like, sometimes people do bad things out of desperation, like stealing is like totally like Aladdin, like he's stealing because he's hungry, whereas like that's not so much a crime as like murdering someone just because you don't like them.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
it's a tough one. Good question. Good question.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I guess. No, I don't have a point. I don't have a point. I abandoned it. I was gonna ask another question.
It sounded like you had a point. You're like, no, I'm not saying.
No, I was just. I mean, my thing is, I think some people are just born dicks. I think there are some people that are just kind of inherently bad.
Actually, that's
It
interesting.
sucks, but it's just the way it is.
That's interesting. Maybe being an asshole is a mental illness. Like people that are at like, I mean, like my grandpa was kind of like that. Like, my grandpa wasn't a great guy. Like he was abusive to my grandma and my mom. And like, I don't know, just like on a real note, like I can be an asshole sometimes. And I'm not like he was, like I'm not abusive in that way. But sometimes, like if I get angry at someone, I think about like how I'm and I think like a negative example can be just as powerful as a positive example. So like I think about that and I'm like, I'm never going to be anything like him, which can be just as powerful as if you have like someone really positive in your life, like a father figure. You can look at someone and say, I'm not going to be anything like you. And that can be just as strong. And like, I don't know, maybe being a dick is a like something biological, just like mental illness.
Yeah.
Like maybe on the same note, like maybe being a good person is like on the other hand, my mom is like literally the best person I've ever met. Like she was everyone's mom growing up. And like I think the way her dad was plays into who she ended up being in a very powerful way. But yeah, I don't, well, that's kind of to the contrary though, because that means that it's not biological. That means you can control that. If she's able to to fight against that, that means that she doesn't have something inherent about her that makes her like him. So I don't know.
And that's why I really said it's, you think something so strongly, like, wait, actually, I could kind of go either way, where someone, yeah, just It's like, I'm just gonna be an asshole today, you know?
Yeah, maybe now I'm thinking about it more, that's probably not like specific to me, because I feel like a duality between like I have this like I have like a mean streak where I can like I'm like I can be like cruel when I don't mean to, like say something mean and I don't like really mean that. But I also like I care a lot. Like I really care about issues going on in the world. And like I feel like I feel like my granddad and I feel like my mom. And it's like, but that's probably not a me thing. That's probably a human thing where it's like you have these two wolves inside of you, and the one that wins is the one you feed. Now I think about it, like
I didn't even know I could fit 2 wolves in my ass, but here we are.
I like this part. He's reflecting on Danielle and he says, one of the things I love the most about Danielle is her honesty. She has a direct link, hardwired from her heart to her mouth, no filter, no self-revision. She says what she feels without a shred of guile or cunning. She works no angles. I just really like the way he said that. So I can relate to that. Honesty is like one of my one of the things I like value the most in people is I try to surround myself with people that will tell me when I'm wrong, you know, like, because if you surround yourself with people that never tell you when you're wrong, they're not really helping you at all.
Mhm.
And like honesty is really only a virtue when it's something difficult. Like it's easy to be honest when it's easy,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's only difficult to be honest when it's difficult. You can quote me on that. I'm a poet. Yeah, I just like the way you said that. There's another part here I wrote down. There's a strange distance between what's happening and my processing of it, a disconnect, a delay. I should do something, say something, but I feel paralyzed by the suddenness of the man's presence. Like he just like he's really good. He's really good. It makes me want to read more of his stuff, even though this isn't like it part of what I like about doing this
Mhm.
is I read things I wouldn't normally read. Like this isn't really something I would pick up,
Mhm.
but I'm really glad you recommended it because like it's important to kind of get outside of your wheelhouse sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I write fantasy novels, like not sci-fi, but I feel like this will help me be a better writer too, because it's like
You can definitely take things from the sci-fi and this quantum different reality and interject that into fantasy. I
yeah,
definitely think that.
You also talk a lot about writing kind of more like hard fantasy, like more in that Dune kind of aspect. This guy's a great example of taking those hard concepts and kind of boiling them down to their fundamental parts, make it easy for the reader.
yeah, yeah. He I think he realized how big of an undertaking this was, writing something about like a multiverse, and he just didn't just like brush it off. Like he did his research, he talked to experts about it, and like I do appreciate that. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
like the hard science fiction, like not like something I like about in fantasy is like the hard fantasy, like Dune, Game of Thrones, where it's like there is a way this universe works and the author understands it very well. Versus something like Harry Potter, which like I'm not hating on too much. I'm not a fan because like I do not feel like J.K. Rowling knows how her universe works. Like it's wobbledy bibbledy. Like
That sounds like a spell.
it does. It does. It's like if you were to ask her how it works, she'd be like, I don't know. Like it just does. And like that's not a really good answer. Even though we don't understand how reality works. Like I want my fiction to make sense, even if reality doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I
don't
feel
know.
like what makes a good author, or gosh, even director, writer, producer, anything in that way, is being able to answer any question. Now, if you don't want to answer it because you want to leave it open-ended for the reader, that like if we asked Blake Crouch, oh, where did they end up when they went in the box at the end? And he probably knows deep down, but he wants you
Yeah.
to kind of, that's why he left it open-ended, to let you make up your own reality.
I definitely agree with you, and I think you're exactly right when you said like he knows,
Mhm.
even if he's not telling you, which is like I think that's important, is you have to know how things work in your universe, even if you're leaving it a mystery to the reader.
Yeah, but there are other questions we should be able to ask him, and he should be able to answer. If there was a disconnect somewhere we just weren't understanding, well, how does this work? He should be able to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
I hope.
Dude, J.K. Rowling's the fucking worst for that too. Oh my god. You guys ever read those like Twitter posts she'll make where it'll be like, this is how it worked the whole time?
I cannot
Oh.
stand J.K. Rowling or Harry Potter. I was just trying to be nice.
No, she fucking sucks, dude.
Well, I do have to say one thing, because if Felicia from Year of October watches that, we read her crime novel series under the alias Robert Galbraith, and it's
Really?
dark crime, and she doesn't use J.K. Rowling. It's a completely different pen, and we love that a lot. So
Wow.
it's kind of almost interesting why, that's obviously so not what this book is about, but
That's interesting. I might I'll get some recommendations from you, because we might need to read one of those
just
for the book
to
club.
because I like Harry Potter, so I'm curious if someone who really doesn't like J.K. Rowling would
You got two
still
right here.
also hate it. You know what I mean?
I'm here for it. I will give it a shot.
curious.
Maybe we'll do this for the book club at some point in the future. 'Cause
There's multiple of them,
Yeah.
but the first one's good enough on
Okay.
its own. Yeah.
Oh, it's like a series.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's 7 of them at this point.
I respect that she didn't use her name as a platform to do this.
Exactly.
Like
It's very
yeah.
dark, and yeah. But anyway, I'm curious if people who don't like her and don't like that series would also not like her writing in this.
I feel like I'd like her much more as
Just
anything
something-
except
yeah.
what she did.
Yeah.
But that's again, that's a me thing. Like I like hard fantasy where it's like Witcher is another great example of like he thought about how these things work. Like even though it's magic, like there's a way you have to do things to make things happen.
Mhm.
Kind of like we were talking earlier about like even if like you don't understand how it works, like he should be able to explain it. And I think this is him and Amanda in the box, and this is him kind of explaining the corridor, like the multiverse where they can like access other worlds. And he says the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. Einstein's words, not mine. Is this place even real? Amanda asks. What do you mean by real?
Mhm.
Are we standing in a physical location? I think it's a manifestation of the mind as it attempts to visually explain something our brains haven't evolved to comprehend, which is superposition. So we're experiencing a quantum state right now. I glanced back down the corridor, then into the darkness ahead. Even in the low light, there's a recursive quality to the space, like two mirrors facing each other. I love that. That's good. Yeah, it looks like a corridor, but I think it's actually the box repeating itself across all possible realities that share the same point in space and time. Like a cross section? Exactly. In some presentations of quantum mechanics, the thing that contains all the information for the system before it collapses due to an observation is called a wave function. You were talking about that, where it becomes a particle instead of a wave. I'm thinking this corridor is our mind's way of visualizing the content of the wave function of all possible outcomes for our superposed quantum state. And then breaking down over here, he says, if there's an endless possibility of doors, then from a statistical perspective, the choice itself means everything and nothing. Every choice is right, every choice is wrong.
Mhm.
So like, there's still questions to be had about how this works. But not understanding how all of this works himself, he did a really great job of like trying to explain that, which like again, he's dealing with some like very large concepts that are not understood even by like any quantum physicist will tell you that it doesn't make sense and they don't understand it. Like that's part of it. And so I think he did an excellent job of with Darkmatter, with what he did here. Yeah, that's kind of all I had. Did you have more questions for us?
I got a stinger for the end, unless you got something you want to talk about.
We can each do one. I think that'd be fun.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. If you want to get personal, my question is, if you could change one decision in your life and go on from that, what would it be? Or if you want to just get more philosophical, are you the prime version of yourself? And how would you know?
I kind of like the philosophical one.
Go with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say in my reality, in my world, then yeah, I'm the prime person.
Fuck yeah.
I think you have to see it that way.
Yeah.
I think you have to see it that way because you are the observer. You're the one that's actualized.
So I feel like every Jason thinks he's the main Jason, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would it be to not think that?
Depression. I think.
I mean, like we've all made mistakes. Like we've all wished we would have done something differently. And I think to think that the version of you that didn't do that is depressing. That is a sad world. There are like things I would have changed, like on the personal side. I like early on in like my late teens, early 20s, I wish I would have done certain things in relationships differently. Like if I had the knowledge I did now, like like been more attentive, things like that. I don't know, like I probably would have focused more on writing also. Like I would have had a book published by now. But that being said, I think I am the core version of myself. And honestly, I wouldn't have any other way to be sitting here with you guys having this conversation. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a good time in life. Even though the world's going to shit, everything sucks. The prices are going up. There's 7-foot alien. Oh no! Oh dude. Yeah. I don't know. There's Los Pelicanas. Did you hear about? We'll make this quick. Did you hear about Peru? What's happening?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so go ahead, Evan.
You
told me about it.
Okay, so there's this remote village in Peru, right? It's like, I think it was a 10-hour trip by boat just to get there.
Oh
they were like indigenous, and they've been having these problems. They said that there are these 7-foot tall floating aliens with glowing yellow eyes that they call Los Pelicanas, meaning the face peelers. And they said that they're basically just like zooming into the village at night and like fucking people up, And they had to try to call in the military to get it, which became a story. But get this, right? What the aliens were, they're illegal operatives from a gold mining syndicate that are equipped with fucking jetpacks. And they're showing up at night trying to intimidate these villagers to get out of the land so they can mine gold. Isn't that fucking crazy?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's all real too. You can look that up.
That's almost more nuts than it being aliens.
I'm so much happier that it's these gold mining people.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm okay with that.
No, fair enough, but it's almost harder to believe that it's
right. Like how crazy is that? That's the world we live in.
Yeah,
that's happening. That's like a breaking story. That's like happened recently.
Yeah, dog.
What about you, Evan? Do you think you're the core version of yourself?
I'm happy with my life, man. Yeah, I think, like you said, there are things I would do different if I could, but if I had done those things different, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
So I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
And
plus, every mistake is like an opportunity to learn and like do something different going forward. Like it's a chance to grow.
Exactly.
You only fail if you give up. Otherwise, it's just a stumbling block. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, so obviously we follow the protagonist in this, where he's kind of this victim of the kidnapping and being taken from his worlds. How do you think you would have enjoyed the book if it was from the antagonist point of view?
Ooh. Ooh.
Because I've read things where people think that the antagonist is actually the Prime because he's the one who made the box.
Oh no, that would make sense. He's the one who created, well,
And
oh,
invaded that reality. Yeah.
this
So-
is not an answer to your question, but you got me thinking now. Maybe the other versions didn't exist until he got in the box.
That's
Fuck. So maybe it's not infinite realities. Like maybe there aren't other versions of us. But if we created something like that and
that
went
open,
into it,
yeah.
now they all exist.
Which, like, I don't know how that all works, but it's a cool take for sure.
That is interesting. I don't know. I think I like this version better just because I like this version of Jason better.
I think that's kind of the general consensus. Is
Yeah.
because you want to feel, something. You're rooting for him. At least the majority of people.
It would definitely be interesting still. Like following a character that you don't like is also entertaining. But I think I prefer to follow characters that I do like. Like, have you guys read American Psycho?
Yes.
Like, Patrick Bateman's not, or that's not Pat. Is that Patrick Bateman? Am I getting that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. He's like not, you don't like him,
No.
but it's still super interesting.
Oh yeah.
So I think I would like that version of Darkmatter, but I think I like this version better.
Yeah. What about you?
Dude, yeah, no, I think that the thing is, it really just depends on where the story begins and ends for, Jason 2 or main Jason or whatever. Because, like, I mean, if we're gonna learn about him building the box and shit, I think that all the cool concepts that he elegantly describes in this book would kind of get hammered out in a way that I wouldn't really enjoy.
It would
it's just
be
like,
a little bit too.
and then I developed the ampule,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't see all the worlds and all. You would
Yeah.
see. Well, I don't know. I mean, how many times it took him to find this reality,
Good point.
but
Yeah.
you might feel for him in a weird way. But yeah, I like this version.
Yeah, me too. This is the prime version of this book.
It might not be the Prime Jason, but it's the Prime Darkmatter. That's funny.
Maybe in an alternate universe, there's another version of this book.
Yeah, like you said, it would take a lot of the journey out of it because it's like, okay, I developed this thing and now I'm gonna go like fuck up another version of myself's life,
Yeah, it's like
do horrible things.
a hypothetical wife too, because at least with this Jason, he's been married to this woman for how many years and has a kid, and he's really wanting to get back to her. This other Jason's like, I know some version of Daniela's out there.
Yeah, like that's really good. Like, dude, you could have just gone to the Daniela in your universe. Like, she's still alive. Like, maybe you could have like done something with that instead of ruining this other version of your life.
Because
Like-
he did the one version of him swooped in and kind of stole her, like made her fall in love for that short amount of time.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, I get it.
it like not only is it like super messed up what he did to Jason, but it's also super messed up what he did to Daniela and the kid Charlie. Yeah, like like she's has no idea what's going on. Like, she's not married to the same person anymore, and he's like not aware of that. Like, that's almost just as messed up as what he did to the other Jason.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude, he got cucked across the multiverse. That sucks.
Oof.
Well, Alice, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Evan. This has been really fun. I enjoyed Darkmatter, enjoyed talking to you guys. And next month, can I get a simultaneous drum roll from you guys? We have The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, the Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing by Maria Kondo. I hope that's in frame. So vastly different from what we did this month. We're going to do some nonfiction, and learn about cleaning your room because I need to clean my room. And Damn Sam, who was on the podcast a couple months ago, is the one who recommended this. So shout out to Damn Sam. I'm looking forward to this. It's a little bit shorter. It's like, ooh, that's nice.
That was
That's
satisfying.
Okay, yeah, so like a little over 200 pages, like right over 200. So this was like 350, I think. So shorter, might be a little bit harder to get through because it's not nonfiction, but we got a month to do it if you guys are interested. And we will see you next month. Bye. That was fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got a good thinker question that I didn't get to ask on the podcast.
Well, hey, we're still rolling.
Oh, we're still rolling.
Go ahead.
Okay, ready? If Jason Jason 2, he makes the box, right? And you're saying that basically when that happens, all these universes start existing all at the same time. Would there be any way for you to realize that you were just instantly created in this moment if all of your memories are basically fabricated by this box happening right now?
No.
I don't think there'd be any way to know.
No, not at all, right?
I don't think so.
Reality
if
could
we
have
just
started for us.
right here.
Yeah,
This
right now.
No.
No, you have no idea.
Not at all.
Good question.
That's it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, see you, Alice.
Bye.
You